this FPAC committee, once a report is laid down in this house, people were arrested, action was taken. They either pay taxpayers money or they go and enjoy in mile two. So I think, as responsible people also, I'm not saying we arrest people unnecessarily, but we need to save our country from rampant corruption. It's naked. The reports have shown it. How can you imagine? Office of the President. Do you understand? How can you imagine what is happening in our councils? The councils that we expect them to be doing development. The councils that we expect that the taxpayers' money will be secured. So no institution is safe from corruption. We have seen to read that how many containers of timber, the report has shown. And the money is paid to Senegal. We need to question that. Why? Why Gambia government is paying to Senegal? We need to know that. What is happening? Is there a secret memorandum of understanding that we don't know that our money is paid to Senegal, or is Senegal part of the timber deal? That's their share. The report should tell us. And we expect FPAC committee to go further and tell us why the payment. Because it's only stated that the payment was done to various accounts. But why the payment? What necessitated the payment? Honorable Speaker, looking at the compliance of GPPA and even the Constitution and the Financial Act, we've seen institutions violating the Constitution and Finance Act, and they go free. So we want FPAC to make a strong recommendation about those institutions that they dialogue with, so that we make a stop to this. We cannot be talking to the gallery, or we cannot be talking to ourselves. Action is not done. Who is going to take us as serious people now? We believe that National Audit did what they're supposed to do. Now it's our part. But we cannot expect, Accountant General to go and do another research or another investigation. That's not fair. The body that is responsible to make sure that audits are done, they have done their audits and they submitted this account to you. FPAC now, we need to take action rather than referring the work to Accountant General again. What are they going to do again? Honorable Speaker, coming to COVID funds or COVID food package, they said they don't know. In the report, it was stated that whether some of the food package is supplied or not, or I don't know what is remain in the store. They don't know where it is. We cannot work like that. Do you understand? I think FPAC also need to properly engage these authorities. Do you understand? We cannot have it in the report that this number of bags were issued, but they don't reach to the store, or those at the store, we don't know the bag. So we need to be clear. Do you understand? If those bags are missing, they need to be replaced. And in the report, one thing I also observed, some of the issues highlighted in the report, they have been overtaken by events. So we need to be updated. How far? Do you understand? Honorable Speaker, coming to NAWEC, institutions that owe us because they have, loans or whatsoever it is. So how can this, NAWEC, if you don't pay cash power, you don't operate. You don't have light in your house. So if NAWEC should owe the state, why should we waste time for them to pay the amount of money that they owe for loans given to their people? So these are things that we cannot, cover them, because the report have shown. Let them pay it. It's an institution that is generating funds from people, so we expect them to pay. Honorable Speaker, Independence Stadium and Friendship Hotel not submit activity reports and audited financial statement. Was this deliberate? What happened? Do you understand? We need to be well informed what should warrant this. This shows that they are not a serious, institution that is promoting physical transparency. So I think, yes, we need to change our attitude. Yes, but we need to go with sanctions. We need to make sure that, sanctions are put in place so that we perform. Gambia cannot just be where we are. Many people alluded. So it's time for us to make sure that anybody who is found wanting, let the law take its course. We have measures in place. We talk of the Janet Commission, the famous commission. Properties were sold. The former president's properties were sold. So where are the funds? We are asking ourselves here in the report. It's shown that those funds are missing. And even a small child in Badibu, you ask him, he will tell you the commissioners. Who are they? So we need to know where these funds are. We cannot just forget about it and say we don't know who mismanaged those funds. We know them. Let them come and appear. Let us recommend IGP to arrest, to start arresting them. Let them face, let them be bailed, and they go to the court until the court proving them innocent. Action need to be taken. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, last but not the least, the councils. The councils are always crying of 25% being paid to them by the government. If in the report it shows that the councils are not complying to submit their financial statements or budgets to the ministry, how can they be subvented? And at the same time, the councils, it should be borne in mind that Section 193 of the Constitution, Subsection 3, Clause E, F, J, emphasize that they need to manage our funds. They need to make sure that they mobilize funds to do developments in their councils. So we cannot say that Office of the President is corrupt or they are not doing what they're supposed to do. So therefore the councils also should not perform. That should not be a lancing. What is wrong is wrong. What is right is right. We all know that there is a saying which says, when the head gets intoxicated, it affects the whole body. If the head is not good, the body will not be good. But that doesn't mean that, you should take that as a lancing to also abuse taxpayers. That must be stopped. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to labor on most of the points, addressed by my colleagues, but the reports, there are a lot of missing funds in millions that could save this country. So let's make sure that these funds, whoever is responsible, let us pay. Let them pay those who are found wanting. We cannot just allow this report to go in vain, because there are millions and we need the funds to make sure that our developments are championed. How many roads do we want to construct? All of us are complaining in our constituencies. We need roads, we need electricity. Will the money come from the sky? When you know that you have loopholes, you have somewhere where your money is lying down. So I want us to work with this thing, not with emotions, but to make sure that let there be proper investigation and let the law take its course. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Central Badibu. I now invite the Honorable Member for Joshua.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will also join my colleagues to thank the FPA committee for a job well done. Honorable Speaker, I think it is high time we start asking ourselves questions. Because since we came in the morning, we went through the report, and the report is very bulky, and there are a lot of things that are highlighted which are not done in the right way. But as parliamentarian, I put it back to us as parliamentarians to take up the responsibility now and do our oversight function the way it should be. This is our responsibility to do our oversight functions on these ministries and all other parastatals. If we do our oversight functions right, I think these loopholes will not happen again. I'm also stressing we also approve budgets here for everyone in this country, both ministries and other private sector. We approve their budgets, it comes here. During our budget session, we've seen it. The report was since 2019. After 2019 to date is how many years? 3 years. Are there any improvement on it? Are there any improvement on it? We don't know. But I think it's important now we start acting based on what is happening. A budget act sent to us for approval, we ask question whether the said ministry has also bring in its last audit report. By doing that, it will help us tomorrow than always having a pile of reports that are not taken care of, that are not acted upon, and then we start approving budget for it. So it's like it will be there as a ballot for us. The same thing, the same trend continue. We had some recommendations the last time that this is what we want to do. Resolutions were passed, but are they implemented? We need to ask ourselves that question, whether they were implemented at the right time. So I think it's important now we start acting. When we pass resolution, let's do our own follow-up as oversight, our oversight function to see whether it's happening. Honorable Speaker, I will start with the NDMA on the report. We have seen that there were funds missing, food items were not released at the right time, somewhere there was no storage, late distribution of food items. This was the time that everybody was in need. This was the time when everybody was crying that I haven't received my share. Why were they parking them at one place to the extent of today the food security is saying that they are no more fit for consumption. What was the problem? When people were in need waiting, we were unable to send it to those people, to those poor people sitting down there waiting for that small food that you are giving them, or those small items that they are supposed to receive from you. You didn't give them on time until today they are still in the store, and then now where to be thrown away. I think it's high time we look at the way we do things. The funds were available. I think we have to look at things in a way that tomorrow, no matter what kind of problem we have, let's do it in the right way. But if we saw COVID as it was coming, and some people see it as it is time for us to capitalize on it. Honorable Speaker, I cannot agree on people saying that there was a problem of storage for those food items that were sent to, let's say, KMC, for KMC to distribute. If they are brought to you today, next minute distribute immediately. You don't have a problem of storage. But why keeping them? Keeping them for who? You already got the list of people that are supposed to be given to. Give it to them immediately. You don't need to do a place to store those materials. It is meant for you, give it out. Honorable Speaker, coming to the Ministry of Health on page 15. If you go to page 15, sorry. Like Amanda, on the conclusions, we have seen no evidence on the need assessment. A total of 199 million was spent on the procurement of and then the usage of quarantine centers, facilities, without conducting need assessment. There was no proper need assessment on all these things. And the amount involved is a very big amount. Whether there was no proper assessment on these things, and then these monies were given or they were disposed to the Ministry of Health, then that shows you that, at the end of the day, if there is a problem, who is to be blamed? If somebody is giving money and there was no proper assessment on the way that money should be spent, or the way that money should be given out to that individual, if there is a failure, you blame yourself. Honorable Speaker, I think it is high time we start doing what is right. As one of my colleagues have just mentioned here, you go to the Ministry of Higher Education, we have seen money was given for overseas students that are studying outside for support of COVID, but still there are funds that are lacking. From 2019 to 2023, those funds are still not recovered. What are we still waiting? Are they recovered or not? Because it is 2019, we don't know whether they were recovered or not. But the committee will take charge and then follow up to see whether they were recovered. Honorable Speaker, I think coming to the issue of the government, we had various speakers talking about government mismanagement. and want to retreat to the local council. Yes, government is a government of its own. The local council are there also to serve the local people. But you cannot merge the two to say if A is corrupt, B should be corrupt. If A is corrupt, why is B being corrupt? Let's see things in a different area. If the local councils are there to represent the local people, they are accountable to us as local people. As government also is accountable to us as this thing, as parliamentarians. Let's see it differently. If everybody is not right, it's not right. And it should be on both areas. If government is not doing it well, that doesn't mean that the local council also should not do it well. Let us see that they should do it, all of them should come together and do what is right. Honorable Speaker, on this timber issue, I think it's important. I have seen it on page 44 on supported documents. I'm a bit confused here. Timbers were seized in the Gambia. Those timbers were seized from what? Smugglers. And monies were generated. And funds were paid into Senegal's account. I cannot understand that. I'm a bit worried. You travel in Senegal with a bag of sugar. Your bag of sugar is, they take it from in the Senegalese border, from the Gambia, with your bag of sugar or with your goods going to Senegal. They will seize it from you. Do they give it back to the Gambia? Is there any share for Gambia? I think we need to look at that MOU that they signed. I don't know whether there was an MOU signed or there was an agreement signed between the Gambian government and the Senegalese government, but I think we need to look at it properly. Because it's not fair on our side. They were apprehended in the Gambia, in our own soil. By who? Our own people went there, smuggled those goods. They are Gambian youths or Gambians who went to smuggle those timbers. In our own soil, if they are apprehended in our own soil, the fine that they paid, you want to give Senegalese their own share in that? I'm saying no. I think it's important to let them go and tighten up their borders and tighten up their areas so that they will not have access to come to the Gambia. But the moment it's inside our own country, it is ours. Why are we sharing? I cannot go much into it because I haven't seen the MOU, but I think FPAC should request the MOU, or we request the MOU as parliamentarian to see the MOU and go through the MOU and see what is going on. By looking at the MOU, we know where we are heading to, but not to sit and say Senegal should. I mean, if you look at in December, they were given 50 million. In the same December, 12 December, 50 million. 31st December, 49 million. Almost 100 million was given to them. Based on what? We need to look at this properly. That money should have been spent somewhere else. But we cannot just say, the MOU, Honorable Chair, I think it's important we have that MOU to know what is in that MOU. If at all there is no MOU, it is important that the moment you enter in the Gambia, it's ours. Just like you go to Senegal and then they seize your goods, it's theirs. Gambia have no share in those goods that they have seized in Senegal. Honorable Speaker, I think it's important, as most of my colleagues have mentioned, if you look at the report, it's the whole country, it's whole department, many procedures. There is nowhere you can say A did this. Somewhere I mentioned that they did, at least you cannot have anything to ask to say they were trying. We say keep it up, keep it up, keep the good job. But it's touched everyone. Let's change. Let's see Gambia. Let's try to change this country. This country is ours. Today I'm seeing people saying that during the past government they were doing A, B, C, and D. Yes, they were doing A, B, C, and D. But after 2016, what were they saying? 2016, after election, dictator. So today, if you want to refer ourselves to that dictatorship that we are saying no to, that they were doing a good job, it's good we lay good foundation. If good foundations are laid, and there are good foundations, we take it from there and build our structures. Then good foundation being laid, you want to destroy all those foundations and start up new foundation, it was a problem. Let's start from the good foundation that we are laid, and then we take it from there. It is good to have a report, but when reports are given, it took this committee time to sit over this report. I heard that they were working up till late at night to come up with a report, this bulk report, and give it to us as parliamentarians. Now we are talking on it. We are scrutinizing it and look at the facts that we need to think that they are important and that should be taken care of. Now, after everything, we said we agree on this, and that's the end. Should it be that way? No. If they can take time, spend nice on this. I know they were paid. From who? Taxpayers' money. But if they took the time to do it first and ask for recommendation, let's follow up those recommendations. Let's follow them up. As that they are implemented. But here we come, here we agree. That's the end. I think it's important now we start changing things and start doing the right thing and start taking the right move to make sure that this country is very small. We can change Gambia. We can honestly change Gambia when we come together as a team. Let's come together as a team. Let's see this country and change this country. It is ours. Nobody come and develop this country for us. But honestly, if you want to develop this country through this, what is in this report? We are nowhere to go. It's better we start packing our things and start living to other countries. But our own country as Gambia, with this, is very sad. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Joshua. I now invite the Honorable Member for Janjambure.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And thank you very much to the FPAC committee through the chairperson for a job well done in compiling such a comprehensive report. Honorable Speaker, I kindly want to seize this opportunity to actually reflect on the Constitution of the Gambia, and I would like to refer us to section 160, that is the functions of the Auditor General, and subsection D, or subsection C rather, which is at least once in every year audit and report on the public accounts of the Gambia, the accounts of all offices and authorities of the government of the Gambia, the account of the courts, accounts of the National Assembly, and accounts of public enterprises. Coming down to subsection D, it reads, within 6 months of the end of the immediately preceding financial year of which each of the accounts referred to as paragraph C relates, report to the National Assembly on the accounts and draw attention on the irregularities in the accounts audited to any other matter which, in his or her opinion, ought to be brought to the notice of the National Assembly. I think from this point, we should be able to draw a conclusion on this very important discussion. Looking at the audit report, I think we will all agree that there are a lot of gaps. Also, looking at the report of the committee, we will all agree that there is still a need for improvement by our respective institutions, more especially with the government of the Gambia. Honorable Speaker, I will refer you to page 24 of the FPAC report. If you look at page 24, it is stated, page 24, paragraph 3.2.2, inappropriate procurement process by the Office of the President. I think here, charity should begin at home, actually. We can all recall that some time back, the President openly stated that audit reports are mere opinions. We might interpret it in all forms of ways, but again, I think at some point, yes, I can agree that some of these things actually form opinions. But again, as the process keeps ongoing, with the FPAC report, I think we can now shift from a mere opinion to actually have a base to rely on, that is to say, with audit reports, there might not really be opinions, as it may be attributed by the President of the Republic of the Gambia, but some of these things, or not in fact, but this could be a fact. And why do I think this report is a fact? If you look at clause 3.2.2, Roman number A, it says, an assessment was carried out by the Ministry of Works to certify the volume and extent of the rehabilitation works that were carried out at State House, the result of which was used as the basis of the payment of 17,488,555.63 bututs by Gay Enterprise. And with the audit report, they went further to advise the Office of the President to actually meet certain conditions which were never done. But again, funds were released for the said work to be accomplished, even though there were some flaws raised. And I think to better set a good example, it should start from the Office of the President. And I want to believe with this honorable House, we should be able to do what is right in order to regularize some of these abnormalities, because I don't believe we can continue to live in these conditions. It has been year after year that either a corruption scandal will be announced or will be reported by relevant authorities, but again, we hardly take an action. So I think it is indeed very important for we to graduate from mere talking to action. And this is where I definitely want to encourage members of this House for we to look at some of the actions that might be of importance for we to take in order to remedy some of these challenges that institutions are facing on a daily basis. However, Honorable Speaker, I still want to look at page 9, which is on disaster management. For me, as I would always allude, for me alone with disaster management, it is high time for we to close that institution. All that they are good at is giving vulnerable families either a kettle or a praying mat when there are casualties. When those particular families are hungry. Can you imagine in my own region, as reported, that is Central River region, there are a list of communities listed that they should benefit from national disaster management, only to realize that nothing was given to those communities, meaning they were just ghost names that were captured in order to flout the system. So for me, there are clear evidence to start prosecuting defaulters, prosecuting heads of institutions who are found wanting. Because if this report is anything that we should go by, I believe we have enough basis to rely on to open prosecution. And again, the Constitution is still very clear to say if audit reports are referred to this very House, we also have the power to recommend to the IGP to take actions. And I think this is where we should look at, more especially with the recommendations. It's important that we make, or we come up with strong recommendations that would actually start paving way for actions, more especially for those that are found wanting. I recall when we came in this National Assembly here during our induction, there was a word said, or a statement said, by one of the leaders of this National Assembly. I can vividly recall that very day. That is to say, there was this particular ministry that reported to the Fifth Legislative about high scandal of corruptions in a particular ministry. And one of the leaderships of this National Assembly openly said, if he was in that house, that particular minister would have not left the chambers and walked freely to his house or to his office without being prosecuted or being arrested. And it seems the same thing is coming back again. In this very report, COVID-19 is clearly reported about. And there were a lot of flaws. Let's look at page 12, Honorable Speaker. If we look at page 12, we look at environments. I think there was a supplementary bill, environment, to finance COVID-19 emergency at the tune of 750 million. And only 100 million represent to pay the frontliners. And we have seen over the past how much those young Gambians who were risking their life in the health sector to give what was required, even though most of us here wouldn't be in that position to actually give those services, considering the risk involved. But these young Gambians were out there in the field to do what were expected, only to realize that this particular ministry failed to pay those young Gambians who were actually risking their life. And now it has reflected on this report again. So for me, the point I am looking at here is, since we have this report before us and we equally have the recommendations from the committee, I think it will be important for we to be specific. That is the FPAC committee. It will be indeed very, very important for we to be specific, because the Accountant General has done her job. The Audit Department has done their job. Now it is left with us as a House of Parliament to do what is expected. And as such, I want to encourage the committee, if we can do certain amendments. I understand that this is the first phase of the reading. But as we continue, the second phase rather, thank you. As the process continues, I want to believe that we could come up with very, very firm resolutions to say those that are found wanting, for the IGP to open investigations and, if need be, to prosecute those that are wanting. This Maslow syndrome, I think we need to graduate from it. And this is one of the resolutions I definitely want to see in this report. Because the back and forth is too much, the talking is too much, and we are the last hope of this nation. If we cannot deliver, I think it's important that we pack our stuffs, go back home, and engage on something different than coming in here, earning monthly salaries, and also other motivations. I think for we to convince the Gambians, it's important that we do the needful. Also, I want to look in the report about the National Youth Council under the, yeah, I'm going to the page. Page 70. It is also stated that the National Youth Council, over the past years, they have been paying rent for office space, even though they were allocated an empty plot of land to enable them construct an office structure and also have the safe space for young people to be engaged. But this is not happening. It seems even their budget, the executive director of the National Youth Council don't seem to know how much budget is being allocated to the National Youth Council. And I think if we're serious, or if we want to be serious about youth empowerment, not just youth development, these are things we need to look at, Honorable Speaker, and find a way in addressing them. And I think with the FPAC committee in their recommendations as well, there should be this strong resolution to say or to direct the Ministry of Finance to consider providing the National Youth Council with the required funds to enable them have an office structure and a safe space for young people to be engaged. I don't think we can continue to live in this way. Also with the National Stadium, I think that National Stadium, we need to rise again and ensure the right thing is done. Sports is just more than entertainment. Sports has now turned out to be a lucrative venture. And looking at the connections, I believe through sports, it should be able to leverage the young people of this country. That is to boost their incomes, but then also to prepare them for a better future. So as such, I don't think the National Stadium, that is the management at the National Stadium, should sit without reporting or without submitting a report, being it both on programs and activities and also on how they generate income and how they spend it. It was just a few months ago they were allocated with 100 million to rehabilitate our Independence Stadium. I think yesterday we played in Morocco. A few days ago, there was a natural disaster in Morocco. So these are things we need to factor. Suppose those young players were trapped in that natural disaster. Today, we would have been all here pretending to be sad when actually we could have done better than the way things are. The Independence Stadium is there hallowing. Institutions are blaming one another. From GFF to Ministry of Youth and Sports, you cannot know the head and the tail. I want to appeal to established institutions to find a way of coordinating their programs and activities amongst themselves and stay away from the infights they are engaging on. Also, I think we need to distinguish people occupying public offices and also wanting to see themselves in political positions. I think the manager at the Independence Stadium, whilst he was supposed to be compiling reports for us, he was busy campaigning to become a mayor of a particular municipality. And as such, this has today affected us seriously. So I think as a nation, we should limit the talking and start taking actions for a better country. And for the recommendations, once again, I want to seize this opportunity to appeal to the FPAC committee to see what we can amend and ensure that this report is before the IGP for further actions. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I...
Thank you very much. I now invite the Honorable Member for Talinding Kunja.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me follow previous speakers to thank the FPAC committee for the review of this audited accounts report, and thank all other honorable members who have intervened. Previous speakers have touched on key important issues. But before I come to that, Honorable Speaker, let me observe that reports of this nature must be dealt with thoroughly in this House. I understand, I hear some murmuring, summarize. I think it should have been even necessary to deal with this, even if it is for 3 days or 2 days. We cannot rush these things. The life of this country is in this book. So yes, for instance, yes, we can say we have the privileged opportunity to have it before us, but the whole Gambia do not see the report. So if you come to Parliament and rush it, what are we doing? We are throwing vital information under the carpet. Because you know National Assembly is live now. Those who don't have opportunity to watch this, to follow the document, will be given the opportunity to follow it through and know what is happening in their country. So this thing is not a one-day job. But at least, even if you are going to do it one day, we should not rush it. Summarization is outside of it. Because fundamental issues are raised in this. And Parliament is responsible, as Speaker said. Most of the things raised in this issue, in this report, is as if Parliament is begging somebody to do it. When you have all the instruments to act and save this country. This report highlighted critical issues why Gambia is not moving forward. We set regulations, formulate laws, but we flout with them from the highest office. If the office of the president, plotting of regulations and rules starts from there, which agency or head department should you blame now for flouting rules and regulations? Corruption now becomes contagious. And this is the problem we have in this society. No one seems to put a check. Even the people who are, even the highest office, the political leadership, are not putting a check on corruption. People are allowed blatant corruption. That is even obvious. Look at the issue of environment. The report is saying that the environments have been conducted over the threshold of 75. And this is not, these are regulations not put by me, it's government. Environment is taking place without the approval. There is no proof that finance is approving them. To the tune of $67 million on environments that has no proof that finance is approving them. Environments that are done without the notifying the agencies. The environments are done. The budget entities. You do environments, take from a budget that is approved by the National Assembly. You take it from the budget entity without notifying them. They are sitting there expecting that they have budget, they have money. But you at finance or somewhere have the audacity to take via from their entity budget line without notifying them. So when they come to need that money, they are surprised to know that it has already been via. But what the results, the report failed to show is on what activities were this environment necessary. Why were this environment necessary? This should have been highlighted by the this thing. Because environment should not be done on useless things that are not important at all. You've seen environment of $4 million added to the presidential campaign. Environment on travel vote. But not environment on essential things that keeps a government going, that keeps health systems going. So it will be very important for the report to highlight the necessities of this environment, so that we Gambian people will know why the reason they are firing. It will unravel, it will unveil the greed of individuals to have funds at the tip of their fingers so that they exploit it. If inappropriate procurement processes, you award a contract before even tendering it. And this, we have regulatory body that is in charge of this. We have procurement unit in ministries and departments and agencies. You are giving people contract to provide services when it has not followed due process. And this is happening at the highest office in this country. Which other agency do we expect to conform to the rules and regulations of this country? The house is becoming empty. I understand in the beginning when we are starting, FPAC invited all the ministries and agencies that are concerned to come and listen to the reports that are made that concerns their agencies. But it seems directors and heads of agencies are going. That's what I observe. The gallery is becoming empty, and then we cannot be speaking to ourselves. In appropriate procurement, this fatigue trading must have been a very important person who is awarded contracts without going through process. And then he is giving payment without receipts. Receipt, no receipt. How are we sure that that money was in fact paid to this trading? No receipt. A government, a whole institution of a government, paying without receipt. And we think that we can gloss over that and go. These are serious. These are national issues. Whoever wants to help the president must raise concern on these things. Because if he has sworn to serve the people of this country and fight against corruption, and now we see people celebrating corrupt people in this country. The moment somebody is accused of corruption in one institution, you see him elevated to another position that is higher than where he was accused of being looted. Even the failure to gazette the BANJUL drainage, roads, and sewage, that's a serious concern. Even the Ministry of Justice advised government that it should be gazetted. With all this advice, government decides to float it. This has to be underlined. It's a serious concern. Unbudgeted payments, the difference in payments, according to the report, COVID-19 force, you are given 10 million. The receipts you have provided, you've paid, let's say, 5 million. The other 5 million is unaccounted for. And now, FPAC report, where I find it not adequate, a recommendation is to say you write to them to explain. Explain what? What are they going to explain? This is like 5 years ago, or almost, 2019 to now. This report has been overtaken by time. What are they going to, you're asking them to invent stories for you. What evidence are they going to provide that they have not provided 4 years ago? We need to take stringent measures to ensure that people are punished. I saw it in one of your recommendations where you gave 72 hours to somebody to surrender the funds. That should have been the case for this 7 million at GBOS. Or another inquiry is set up, GTB rather, another inquiry should be, I want to expect FPAC committee to recommend for a commission of inquiry of further probes into matters. But just to ask them to explain why this thing happens, I think for me is a weak position. The same way goes to recommendations that they put at the office of the president. They are asking them to write and explain why they follow those rules. And then I think somebody is responsible in any institution. There are board controllers, there are financial controllers. Somebody should be in charge of something. Just to say president's office is not enough. There are permanent secretaries. There are secretary generals whose job it is to look over matters in the office of the president or state house. Somebody must be responsible. It's not just an empty house, state house. Or you say ministries and departments. No, let's try to identify who is culpable and hold the person on the neck. If you want to be responsible, let's find who is culpable. If we do that, we can curb corruption. If we don't do that, we leave it blatantly. Find out who is responsible in an agency, whose job it is that is not done. We hold him accountable. If it's going to be prosecuted, he prosecuted. He's going to pay for it, he pay for it. But you just only say the office of the president or the state house should do this, or the ministry should do this. There are board controllers. There is somebody who is responsible. There are head of admins. Let's pinpoint them. Pick them for flouting rules. If they had done it because of the influence of politicians, now they will not do it because politicians will not use them. So we cannot fall short when it comes to some of these things. This laissez-faire attitude must stop. Timber processing. The advent of the coalition government, we've seen how they have tried to curtail the importation, the cutting of trees and the deforestation and other things. But this report is alarming. The checkpoints we see seizing Gambian timbers is a facade. It's to fake people. How many containers leave the Gambia? How did they leave? A container is loaded at our ports. These monies are coming, they don't know whether. They cannot justify whether it is in the government coffers or it's in somebody's pocket. Where are they? FPAC should probe this. Somebody should come and answer. Where is this money? We need that commission or that commission of inquiry, that parliamentary committee inquiry in those things. Bit by bit. Not even wholesome. Bit by bit. Government is encouraging everybody to use IFMIS. They even authorize people to use IFMIS. Now, government is paying money to a neighboring country outside its IFMIS. You think it's clean? Government that is promoting the use of IFMIS to avoid leakages is now leaking itself, the system itself, avoiding it and sending it. That's blatant corruption. Let's find out who authorized this payment. It's signed by somebody. Let him come and answer to a commission and say who authorized him to sign. Otherwise, there will be another commission using these things. Let's stand up on our 2 feet and save this country. Otherwise, we all sink. We do the right thing or we all perish. Grants as well. No records. The money that every Gambian owns. Now, how are we going to convince donors that we are utilizing judiciously these grants they are giving us? If donors are wise, they shouldn't be giving us money. We are not accounting for the grants. That's what the report is saying. You should not account only to the donors. You should account to the Gambians how you spend the money they have given to every Gambian. It's not enough to just go and justify it to the donors. Maybe you may convince them. But how do you convince Gambians that you have expended this money on their behalf for their interests? That's what matters. So if the auditor report is saying there is no proof that how it is disposed, that's an embarrassment. Ministry of Finance, Accountant General Office. We have all these trained people. They should go every day, have decks in front of them. They work through these grants. They don't record it. They don't show how it is paid. And you tell me there's no corruption involved? You want me to believe that? So I think we should take serious steps to help ourselves, help our people, help future generations. The Gambia we are building is for all of us and our children yet unborn. But the damages we are seeing here cannot save us if we don't correct it. I cannot go over all of those because many speakers are coming. You are in a haste for me to close here. So I like your recommendation, EPAC, one of your recommendations, where you said if some of the institutions don't comply, we will not approve their budget. I like that. I applaud that. That's a good one. And even some of these agencies as well. We cannot come and give you public funds. You go and then you don't submit your audited accounts. You don't want to give an activity report, and you expect us to give you money again. That shouldn't be accepted. That shouldn't be accepted. So you should be able to tell how you expended the money that you have been given. What activities have you carried out in your institutions, in your departments, in your ministries? And then the emphasis on Ministry of Youth is very important. I saw it. Because youth is not only youth, it's youth and sports. It's one of the most important ministries. We cannot allow it to be useless and continue to be useless in this country. Let me Honorable Speaker, with these few remarks, I would like to end my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Talinding. I now invite the Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Yeah, it will not take long. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I will also thank the FPAC for a well-presented report, a well-informed report, very fruitful report. A lot of work has been done there. And this is almost 1 year of scrutiny before this report is out. That is June 2022 to July 2023. Almost a year. Honorable Speaker, we remind ourselves again of the exercise. The aim of the exercise is meant to ensure transparency, probity, and openness in all public institutions financed by the taxpayers' money, as well as to hold heads of public institutions accountable for their actions and or omissions so that they deliver valuable services to the populace. That is the aim of this exercise. And we are given this very important report. Also, we are informed of Section 110 of the Constitution, that we have powers to reprimand or admonish any officer, agency, department, or ministry that has been found to be wanting in the execution of their mandate. So, Honorable Speaker, unless we set examples, I believe nothing will improve. Nothing will improve. People who are used to public money freely will never leave it unless action is taken against them. Honorable Speaker, there are implications not only for those who are doing this mismanagement, but also for the National Assembly, as well as for the executive. It is the National Assembly's responsibility to spot out the anomalies, but it's also the government that must take action to ensure that mechanisms are put in place to ensure those anomalies are minimized. Usually you cannot eradicate everything, but you minimize it. If you cannot minimize it, they label you a corrupt government. A corrupt government. And they don't say corrupt civil service. They hardly say corrupt civil service. They say corrupt government. And that means the executive is responsible. All the blame goes to the executive. They are the government, the cabinet. Failure on their side will label this country a corrupt country. So, Honorable Speaker, FPAC should provide an estimate of losses. This big book, it's a big report, manuscript. All the losses, estimate of all the losses should be estimated and given to us, so that we know what we are losing, what our people are losing through this process. That is from June 2022 to June 2023. And this is COVID-19, for example, COVID-19 funds. A lot of anomalies there. If you calculate all that and you give us an estimate of what those losses are, it would be very useful. The government will learn to know how much the country is losing through these mismanagements. And the Auditor General's report also, we should know what are the losses or estimated losses. If we know that, well, we'll know that, what percentage of the budget that we approve here for 2019 or for each year is gone in vain, into individual pockets, into mismanagement, and so on and so forth. So when you come to COVID-19 funds, Honorable Speaker, we are talking about this time $750 million. That's what is given to them, the second phase, for them to provide support to the public, the vulnerable public. And if we go by one, Honorable Speaker, you would see key findings and observations on page 9, which talks about all these villages that were left out during the distribution or identification process. So the question is whether these villages have received anything or they have not received anything. Because I don't see how they should be left out completely, but there is no information relating to that. And I'm going to make it very quick. And if you go to page 10, at the top, it's saying the following stock balances were transferred to the governor's office at the request of the governor. Sugar, 120 bags, 50 kilograms. Oil, 180 gallons, 20 liters. Rice, 4 bags, 50 kilograms. So, governor's office is the storage house for NDMA. And they played a prominent role because every time I called my constituencies or they called me, they would say, the governor said this, the governor said that. So which means the governor at some point had taken some responsibilities from the NDMA to do certain things. And this is at his request. And this is, I think, CRR. Honorable Speaker, when you also go the next paragraph on page 10, it says, as a result, they were kept in the open and were exposed to the elements. The exposure caused damage to some of the food items, leading to wastage of resources. Wastage of resources. We were very careless. When we are here in the fifth,
Honorable member, make specific references so that members follow you.
I say page 10.
Yeah, we are with you at page 10.
I say second paragraph. Are you listening to me?
Second paragraph.
Second paragraph.
Of
Where you have storage and security of food items.
Yeah, just say C.
Okay, C. C.
Because from the above 29 gallons can be a paragraph.
Yeah, C.
Uh-huh.
Yes, if you come to D also, there were excessive delays in the distribution of food items in LRR and WCR. And some of the food items got damaged while in storage. 28 bags of 50 kilogram rice and 1 bag of 50 kilogram sugar for LRR and WCR, 541 bags. Like I said, when we were here in the Fifth Assembly, I said, well, if you buy all this rice and all this sugar and all this oil and all these tomatoes, etc., and you want to transport this across the country, employing all those vehicles, all those trucks, there is bound to be a lot of lapses. So why don't we just give, cash to family heads? They know better what they require. There is suffering. You want to ease my suffering, just give me cash. I know the most essential part of my needs. I go and purchase those ones on my own. All the money that has gone into employing trucks and truck drivers and people bringing it down would not have happened. But it did happen, so we've passed that. So, Honorable Speaker, it goes to conclusion on page 10. Sufficient information and documentation was not received from NDMA to substantiate transportation and distribution of food relief to vulnerable households. So the transparency is missing. The failures made some vulnerable households to not receive the food items to which they were entitled. And that's what the other day I was suggesting. That really this public protection secretariat, if we empower them, like they want us to empower them, they will do the data collection, and then the agencies responsible will do the distribution. But if you allow the same agency to collect data, the same agency to do the distribution, there is bound to be a lot of mismanagement in that. Because I have experience. Some of the people on the ground will go and even write families that have not been affected. And when it comes to distribution, families that are affected will see these other people will a lot of rice. And they will say, but how can this person get rice and he's not affected by the flood? He's not affected by the disaster. And me, whose house is all blown off. My everything is gone down. I got only 1 bag or 2 bags. But if a separate unit is done the data collection, these people are duty bound to only follow the data and distribute it according to that. There is likely to be minimal damage to the process. Honorable Speaker, if you also go to page 11, page 11B, the second part, it said the committee further recommends that the executive director of NDMA must account for all the remaining stock balances within 10 days. My question is whether he has addressed that. Whether that is already addressed. Because these are some of the questions that are left behind. Maybe you'll be able to help that. On page 12, Honorable Speaker, well, I've already said that we are dealing with 750 million. And if you go to page 12, C, category of frontline workers, the categorization was disseminated to the regional health directories and heads of thematic areas for use in classifying personnel. I was at one time querying here and said, for my area, when you ask them whether they have received anything for COVID-19 funds, they said no. Even though they distributed some papers here. So how is it distributed? We need to make a follow-up on this one. to really clarify us how this distribution has been done. There is further inquiries to be done there. Really. Honorable Speaker, if you also go to page 11, page 11D, like you instructed, inaccurate amounts of allowances paid to frontline workers. The auditors noted overpayment of $1,615,548 for 227 personnel, while underpayment of $1,485,565 for 275 staff. On the one hand, is overpayment. On the other hand, is underpayment.
That is page.
That's page 11.
Page
Page 11D.
D.
D, like dog.
Yes.
Yes. So, Honorable Speaker, we can continue on and on. But if you look at page, let's go to page 20.
I don't understand still, because page 11D, what I have for 11D and what you were reading are different.
Page 11?
D.
D.
Yeah, that's on the recommendations, isn't it?
No, it should be page 12 instead. It's page 12D. C. Huh?
Okay.
Page 12C.
Page 12C.
Yes. That's what I just read.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But we go to page 23. Page 23, Honorable Speaker, that's also E, violence. Violence above 75% threshold. I think that's already addressed by Honorable friend here. 2 billion. 2 billion through violence. What is the use of making a budget only for it all to be bad? That's defeating our purpose. 2,687,362,341.40 violent above the threshold. And according to the committee, it looks like there is no explanation for that. Honorable Speaker, if you go to page 24, 24 is dealing with A, inappropriate procurement process by Office of the President. And you can see that if you go through that, they are saying it's not gazetted. It's not gazetted. You don't follow GPPA rules, you don't gazette it. You know what that means? If you don't gazette, it means that you've gone into a dark room and award a contract in the dark. Gazetting means everybody should know what you are doing. Transparency. But you refuse to gazette, you went into the darkness and award a contract to the tune of, and not only in dollars, but it's in dollars. In dollars. In this place, it's saying 17, I think it's 17 million. This one. This one is dollars, but in the other area is 35, is 30 something, 30. Yes, it's 30 something $million for, yeah, 35,720,000. Page 26. If you go to page 26. Page 26. That's what is there. It's not alphabetical. It's failure to gazette the award of BANJUL drainage roads and sewage project. $35,720,000 should be gazetted before the conclusion of the engineering, procurement, and construction contract. But it's not gazetted. So, page 26. Yes. So failure to gazette is like you are doing things secretly. And we've queried that at one point, and it was denied. And now the investigation has revealed that that's exactly what has happened. So, Honorable Speaker, we can continue, but I don't see, since it is written, I believe we are fine with it. Whatever recommendation should be followed up by the FPAC. For example, the Accountant General should investigate the missing receipt book and report to the audit team for confirmation. We want to give, somebody said we should not give that responsibility to the Accountant, to the Auditor General again. But I think if he can do it properly, then it's better for him to do that, so that we'll be able to get something. Honorable Speaker, on page 44, honorable friend has spoken about timber. That was timber that we were following, and eventually this is what happened to the timber. Saying timber paid to Senegal. Well, it should be 44. 44. Yes. If you look at that also, Honorable, you will see that unsupported payment of timber proceeds to government of Senegal. I narrated to the Fifth Assembly here that a cousin brother of mine arrived at Buyam, and his truckload of timber was seized by the Senegalese soldiers there. And when he reported it to me, I made a follow-up, only to discover that it is the Senegalese, and they wanted to take the timber to Kanilai to pack it. So when I protested, eventually they gave up, and they allowed the cousin to take the truckload of timber. But that is the practice, that they would take this truckload of timber and dump it in Kanilai, and they will not take it to court. And people whose timber is taken will not be able to make a follow-up. The forestry is not aware. They will not tell anything to the forestry department. So eventually that is the timber. They thought that every timber in the Gambia is from across the border, which is not true. You go to my constituency now, they have harvested. Even the netto trees are being harvested. Netto, Luto, the bush mango, they are harvesting everything. Which has a lot of use. That's what they are doing. So really, to think that Gambia does not have timber at all, I think it's a big mistake. But also, if you look at it, they will tell you, let me just read. Discussion with officials at Accountant General's department revealed that directive was issued from the office of the president to make this payment, even though no documentary evidence was provided to support this claim. This is also a secret agreement. And it's an international agreement, but it's not come to the parliament. And we are just sitting here and saying we are scrutinizing. But the report has shown it. So now we've discovered it. There is no transparency. And there are implications, because the Gambian people can remove you from power for a corrupt government. You are not being transparent. You are just doing things anyhow you want. And that is the reason why the Senegalese are very strong at Buyam. They never want to live there. And we've complained about that. We raised thousands of questions here. And they will give us, stories. Because if you are part of ECOMPIC, there should be other soldiers at that checkpoint, and then the Senegalese soldiers will move at some point. But it's always the Senegalese soldiers that are there. So it means that there is something that we don't know, and they are not ready to tell us. So, Honorable Speaker, as I said, if you go to page 90, Judiciary, there is something there under the Judiciary. They said, I think the committee will help us to clarify that. I'm not very clear about that. Page 90. let's go to page 91, page 91. Yes. Yes, page 91, 1. The judiciary should prepare their accounts and submit them to the National Assembly with effect from the year ended 31st December 2023. Page 91, 1.
Okay.
At the top.
Oh, okay. You never mentioned the number.
The first paragraph.
Yes, 91.
Yeah, they said the year ended 31st December 2023. It's either a mistake or I don't understand. Maybe they can help us. And if you go to, let's say 19, something is 19. 90, Honorable Speaker, H. The committee is currently working with the Accountant General's Department and the National Audit Office on the National Assembly resolution of September 2022, and to ensure that recoveries are made on the unretired impressed 2005 to 2016 and 2017 and 2021. The substantive report will be provided during the, we can add this assignment there. Let them put all these other things, put all of them together and work with the Accountant General and ensure that they bring all that together. I think that'll be a useful enterprise so that we'll be able to deal with all these things. But Honorable Speaker, there is something that I missed. If I don't see it, then I'll just say it. Yes. So, I cannot see that one. The memory refused to come. But, Honorable Speaker, the disease that struck the central government, the whole ministries and departments, will not fail to strike agencies. There is this disease of mismanagement in the country. And unless we take drastic steps, like other members have said, we'll be failing our duty. And the Gambian people will eventually sweep all of us from the National Assembly. They have the power. They will remove all of us. It's our responsibility to do something. And the committee has said it. They say 100 and I think it's 10. We have the power to do something. Section 110. Contempt of the National Assembly. Any act or omission which obstructs or impedes the National Assembly in the performance of its functions, or which obstructs or impedes any member or officer of the National Assembly in the discharge of his or her duties, or affronts the dignity of the National Assembly, shall be a contempt of the National Assembly, and in addition to any liability in respect thereof under the criminal law, the offender shall be liable to reprimand or admonition by the National Assembly, and if the offender is a member of the National Assembly, suspension or expulsion from the National Assembly. So we have some powers to do something about this. Let's do something about this. Let's quantify all the losses, all the amounts, estimated amounts, and put them together. And inform this government that this is how corrupt your government is. This is how corrupt your government is. And you should do something about it. That's how pressure comes. Pressure must come to bear on them for them to do something. Otherwise, nothing will be done here. This is in the billions. Unaccounted for, mismanaged. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much. But I also want to extend thanks to all the witnesses, these numerous witnesses. Without them, we will not get this information that we require. On that note, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Woolly East. I now invite the Honorable Member for Old Yundum.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I nearly want to withdraw my contribution because a lot of things have been said on the report. But first, just a brief statement on the report. I first want to thank the FPAC for a thorough job. You have done a very good job. But like my colleague said, member of Central Body said something that is very important. That is to divide the report into two, because it's very bulky. And most of us, when we get the report, our concentration was on the COVID funds. Most of the other agencies and departments, we are not focusing on them a lot. So maybe in the long run, you can divide the report into two, have such report as as one full, and then the other ministerial agencies and department at another full. That will help us a lot. Honorable Speaker, the report is unfortunate, honestly speaking. I mean, I think all of us together will speak the same language, because the report before us is highlighting some of the activities that had happened within the governance structure. And all these things happen between the ministries, departments, and agencies. These are individuals responsible for all the things that have happened. We will all agree together. It's our country. And like I said, the FPAC's recommendation on certain, ministries to hold responsible individuals who have not done their job. I think that is important for us to take note. And I agree. If anything happened in a ministry or agency or a department, somebody has to be responsible. We cannot just point our fingers to the head of state as the one who is responsible for the corrupt practices that are happening within the country. People are responsible. And some of these people, you see, when you find out somebody who is working within your governance structure and is not supporting you, once you move the individual, what they say first is injustice. But the injustice is not more than somebody who works under you, who does not even believe in your leadership, and starts squandering the funds that is given to him to work for the public. That is also injustice. That person should go to jail. So I think the report has revealed a lot that we cannot say all. But the recommendations are apt. From here, I think all of us will need to look at the recommendation, especially the broad recommendation on certain things where people are culpable of, or being responsible of certain acts. That should reach the president, and action must be taken on those ones. I think that is important. When we look at the report together, all of us, we have seen what is happening there. Nobody can dispute the fact. Nobody. I mean, I think both of us, both sides of the assembly, whether you are part of the minority or the majority, this is our country. It's not on political reasons. This is for our country. Anybody who is culpable, you must be put to books. And you must refund the resources that you squander for us to move. That is what we are advocating for. So FPAC is a committee that is working for the National Assembly. We cannot give them work. And that is why, you have different sides of the assembly, both the majority, minority, and other members from. So there is nothing like political, motivation or whatever. So I think I am contented with the recommendations, and I just wanted to echo that today, when we are speaking here, even if the president is hearing us, some people within the system who are not willing to work for the government structure need to leave immediately, or they need to be responsible of their actions. That is the fact. So, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to go through the clauses in the report because it's too bulky, but the fact of the matter is the general recommendation have spoken, widely for all of us to understand that people must be responsible. People must be responsible. From 2019 to date, a lot of funds have gone in, and these funds are in some people's pocket. I'm not saying the government is not responsible, of course, but what I don't want to agree is people to point their fingers to the president as the one who's responsible for the corrupt practice in the system. There are people who are responsible, and they don't even believe in the leadership of the president. So those people also need to be responsible. They are there. So, Honorable Speaker, with those things, I think I beg to take my seat. Thank you.
Motion, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, maybe he wants to. Huh? You want?
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable nominated member, Keba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm rising on Order 13.2 to raise the motion that this Honorable House sit beyond 6 o'clock to finish business. Thank you.
To be clear, to finish the business of the day or to finish this particular motion?
Let me seek consensus first.
Can I help you? Following consultations with both sides of the House, they seem to agree that we complete this motion and then, and then close off, and then the other ones will come tomorrow also. So,
then, Honorable Speaker, I will rephrase that I'm rising on point 13.2 to raise the motion that the Assembly sits beyond 6 o'clock to finish the report of the parliamentary scrutiny on the 2019 audited financial accounts of the Gambia and Auditor General's reports on COVID-19 response. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Olundum.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Assembly sits beyond 6 o'clock to finish the current topic on the motion on the table, on the floor. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. So we can stop. Honorable members, we still have about 14 or 15 members to speak. So prepare your minds. Honorable Member for Sabak Sanjal.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I will not take long to give at least other members the opportunity to speak. Hence, a lot of things has already been highlighted by the former speakers. Honorable Speaker, I want to use the opportunity to thank FPAC for coming up with this report, and also the Auditor General for cooperating with FPAC to make sure that they come up with this important report. Honorable Speaker, I think the National Assembly has some additional functions, which is highlighted in under Section 102 of the 1997 Constitution. And this includes, among others, that the National Assembly should advise under Section 102, subsection E, advise the President on any matter which lies within his or her responsibility. Honorable Speaker, we can remember during the previous government when we used to have PAC by then, and now called FPAC. When FPAC reports, it should attract public attraction. During the former government, there was a time when the IGP was given instruction to arrest heads of institutions based on the report that was presented by PACPEC. Let us advise the government of the day to use this as a very good opportunity. We understand that the President wants to demonstrate the principles of democracy. We understand that. But this is a report. This is FPAC. Nobody will blame you for giving instruction to the IG to arrest all those that are responsible. Don't worry about people calling you a dictator. You are doing the right thing. You see, we are borrowing some things that does not suit us as a country. When we talk about democracy, people try to flout everything. We should take a system in our country that suits us. Let us not borrow any system that does not suit us in the Gambia. Honorable Speaker, I will start with BCC because we are in Banjul. I'm not leaving Banjul before any other thing. BCC, the mayor said that the mayor of BCC confessed to FPA that the figures of their financial statements were just made up. They were just made up. So it means from nowhere they just go calculated figures and put it in the statement and brought it to us as if we are somebody who are joking on in this house. That's not possible. We are not going to allow that to happen here. So anybody who is responsible at BCC who provided us with these false informations, I call them, should be called to order. And action need to be taken. We cannot allow this to continue happening in this country. Before we disturb ourselves spending millions on commissions, why not we act now? This has no cost on us. It's here, clearly stated. You call them on commission, they start saying you are witch hunting them. This is not witch hunting. You are the ones who said it. You said that the information you are providing to us is not correct. That is what exactly they are telling us. So what are we waiting for, Honorable Speaker? You see, you look at page 49 of the report, lending failure to recover on loans to state-owned enterprises. You lend money and you said you cannot recover them. How is that possible? This is a big disgrace. You see, Honorable Speaker, this country needs to move as the Honorable Member for Fuladu said. We cannot allow individuals who are doing malpractices to tarnish the image of Parliament, to tarnish the image of the government, to tarnish the image of the executive, the judiciary, the legislature. We cannot allow that to happen. Certain individuals in the system. Finish them. Yes, take them to mile 2. Let them go there and wait for their time to come. We cannot allow that to happen. On the GT board, over $7 million was not accounted for. There was a difference of $7 million. I can remember back in the days when I was working with the tourism system, tourism sector, in 2019, when I was recalled from Dakar, that there is COVID-19 that hits the government and you need to return immediately. When we came, they said government is going to help us with these packages. We went to GT board and we were told, no, your names are not included. Because the $7 million, they wanted to embezzle it. And that is why our names were not included. We should have benefited from that $7 million. Yes. Honorable Speaker, you see, people are blaming disaster management. Fine. I think there is something you call, the auditors are here, they call it a need assessment. There is fire outbreak in Sabasanja. You are calling auditors to come and you are calling disaster to conduct need assessment. The fire outbreak is currently killing people. Disaster need to respond immediately. What mechanism should we put in place to make sure that when certain disasters hits us, we can respond immediately? This is what we need. Yes, I understand some of these terminologies that you use, and I thank the Auditor General for coming up with this kind of things, but we should provide them with mechanisms that would help disaster to make sure they respond as quickly as possible. It's very important. If you want to wait for need assessment, which may take months, people are dying in Sabasanjal, we cannot allow that to happen. You see, and there is this social registry system which is going on. I have to commend them because I think that's one thing that can help us. Because if we have a data which will tell you and categorize people who are poor, who are rich, then we will be able to respond immediately. When outbreaks comes, all we need is to go to the social registry system which can specifically tell you those that are poor and those that need those kind of helps. But we don't have it now. We don't have it in the Gambia. So obviously, the data that is provided to disaster, they respond based on those data. And most of the time, they rely on the local councillors. But what instrument have you provided to them? Sometimes we need to think. You see, I will thank Gambia Transport Union in this, because during the COVID-19 pandemic, they worked with disaster to make sure that they transported all those goods, all those donations or materials, equipments that were needed, all those food items were distributed. They were transported. I have to thank them. If our local transporters can help us, how about those who are in the system? Let's try to stop sabotaging this system. Let's work for the nation. The sense of patriotism should be inculcated in every Gambian so that we can move the nation. That is the only way out we can go. Some of us are just from China, and we were amazed. When they presented lectures, they tell you what we believe is we are Chinese, China first. Irrespective of any political belief you may have, we see our country first. And that is what we should have in the Gambia. Honorable members, let us try to also sensitize the public. We tell them, we tell our public officials that Gambia belongs to all of us. Do not mind about who is sitting there as the president or as the managing director or as the speaker or whatsoever the position man holds. Drive it together. Move it together so that this nation can move together. And one thing, sometimes when this audit report comes, you realize that FPAC will be calling institutions to come and also give their statements. That is the time institutions will try to come up with some of these documents that were asked by Auditor General and auditors. Most of them will not provide the relevant information at this time of auditing. Unless and until FPAC calls them, that is the time they try to commit those reports and those documents. My friend, to make the work easy, provide it at the relevant time. I think these things need to be considered. Sometimes when these audit reports are given, you see, or some of them will say, you see, they did not even look at my documents properly. Some of these documents are here. We don't need it. Provide it when at the time it was needed. You don't have to set eye on the Auditor General or on the auditors to say, Kid of Mabany. We don't bany anybody here. It's the government, it's the nation, it's the Gambia. So you can have any personal belief that you have. But when it comes to the truth, we will speak the truth. Because it is only the truth that can set us free, nothing else. And there is no going to be bias play here. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Honorable Speaker, with those simple remarks, I beg to stick to myself.
Honorable members, it looks like honorable members don't accept that the ball is in our court. Looking for provisions in the Constitution or powers or regulations as to what next can you do. As was quoted, the Auditor General, after auditing government accounts, reports directly to the National Assembly. So the Auditor General works with the National Assembly, and more or less by a committee, more with a committee of a National Assembly. And if you look at Section 74 of the Constitution again, 74, you will see that all levels of government, our oversight is more on the executive. But all other portfolios fall within the executive. Whoever you may call in this country, funded by public funds, you either fall under one of these ministries. So what are we looking for? And there is no responsible government in the world that would allow misuse of funds, corruption, and all these things within the system. Nobody would like that. You only use government or the party to cover yourself, but you are not a good person. So I think what we should do, and most of you quoted the park peg then. Yes, we were able to, in fact, retrieve from people millions of dollars. Millions. But it's a process. And the parliament must take its responsibility to make sure you are the last line. That's what we need to do. Let's not lament as to what's to be done. We are conferred with all the powers to make sure that things go straight for our common good, for the good of all. Let's not just punish because somebody erred. If we want innovation, you must try new chances. And through that process, errors can happen. That's not for punishment. That's for us to learn from it and move forward. It's calculated. There are recommendations here since 2013 or so. Recommendations coming up, the same recommendations, the same things happening. What is happening? That cannot continue. I think you members must find a solution. And together we should all do it. Only then shall we send the signal. Honorable Member for Fonyi Kansala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I thank the FPAC committee, ranging from all witnesses and also the various clerks. As you have alluded into section 74, I think it's clearly put. The first phase of COVID-19 report is the same messages that we will be singing here on recommendations, or this is what we've recommended. And now we are in the second phase. Honorable Speaker, looking at page 33, on failure to provide information on Jana Commission proceedings or proceeds. The FPAC committee, I want to suggest this as a strong recommendation. I've seen where part of the recommendation, BA, says the Accountant General should liaise with the Minister of Justice to ensure the relevant documents requested are provided immediately. Immediately when and how? Timeline. When you say immediately, maybe the documents are not even available. So what I want to put across here is, we have Jana commissioners who were part and parcel with this commission. I think the added recommendation I want to suggest that they should be invited on solid grounds to come out with anything that the committee is requesting for a proper implementation. And again, also, it has also linked to the Constitution. I wonder this, sometimes I do tell people, in the Gambia, we have one adage. We have laws that are governing process and procedures of finance and management. And the Constitution also is there. And you also have sets of various institutions. But most cases you hear people saying, I think we work on anti-corruption bill, anti-corruption bill, anti-corruption bill. We are seeing a tsunami of corruption that is now working on us. So we will now wait for that anti-corruption bill. If the bill comes again, implementation will be a problem. I think I agree with the Speaker that we have to come with solid recommendations. One, for this Jana Committee, no commissioner should be left behind. You cannot come and fake the system and you go away scot-free. This is fact. These were people from the Justice Minister down to the last cadre. Even if you are part of the clerks of that Jana Commission. We've seen people where they are part of the commission and they left unhappily about the way systems are going at the Jana Commission. And they came vividly and narrated the ordeal stories of what is going through that particular commission. We are now saying we don't have information through this commission. It's not available. It's not available.
And we are happily saying that. Journey Commission, whereby we've implemented, we have sold this, whatever. Where the Justice Minister was here when questions were asked about former presidents, even cows and other issues. They cannot even provide a single receipt. So we want to encourage those steps, and they are still working, and they are also smiling with us. When that is not your money, neither my money, you took somebody's money and soul, or assets and soul, you cannot even be able to show vividly that these are the proceeds. And now they are happy going to the street, driving their limousines, marrying, and having a lot of chances in their doing. So I think we are sorry as a country if we don't take the bull by the horn. We'll be narrating the story. So I believe, let's recommend the Journey Commission members from the first to the last cadre, they need to be organized a day where we parade them at the Judiciary office so that they'll be able to narrate this. We have to get this document. We have to. We have to. Some of them, they lobby. I want to be a commissioner. I want to be this. We've seen the local government commissions that are going on. It's the same story, my brother. It's the same. It's the same. If you are friendly, I am the commissioner, I just drag and say, come join. You think this country is an Asusu country? We are very sorry. As a commission, a full-fledged commission mandated by the National Assembly and said, do this X, Y, Z. This is your TOR. Auditors will do their work and they said, we cannot find X, Y, Z. We cannot. And they are left flamboyantly flying from the heaven and earth. Today, by this time, they should be at the detention center at the IGP's office. So we have to take actions in this. So I believe one action is, I recommend FPAC, put your pen, note it, that they need all, from the commissioner down to, they have to be arranged at the police headquarters to make sure we investigate them. Now, the other thing also, today, from here, they have to act. From here, we have to instruct the IG. From here, they have to act. If not, they will just take us as ceremonial. They will be voicing. You know, sometimes what they tell us, National Assembly, noise makers, all sort of names. So we should move away from those tag names now. Honorable Speaker, I move to the area where they talk of the National Disaster Management Agency, in which distributions, and again, it says the late distribution of food items. It heralded where the Food Safety and Quality Control Authority said some of these foods are not fit for human consumption. Sometimes I wonder how has it happened? Others were and the others are not. We want clarity here, whether they are all expired, not fit for consumption in what sense, and whether those food that they bought are different from what was on stock. So we need clarity here in this area. Honorable Speaker, looking at the area of other members have talked about the unconfirmed balances. I want to dilate in this path where you talk about the Yes, it's talking about the key areas of sorry, I think I have this. Good. Here it says page 48. It says losses of public fund. It's clearly put. These are public funds, and they are nowhere to be seen. But the audit report has shown us that there are losses, but clearly showed that Immigration Department, Seaport, police investigation reveals that visa fees amounting to 1,302,000 was received by the cashier, but only 700,000 was paid to the government, leaving a balance of 602, which was shared among what? Said officers. Huh? So it's shared among officers. And now, those officers today, we don't even hear that they are apprehended. They are apprehended. And now caught to book and said, so now you can see her freely, and they are going, roaming, investigation. So I think we need to maybe do position testing. We do position testing where members of the assembly will even be 1 month, 2 months in another position, another replace, so that we can see the reality. We have to take the bull by the horn. It's unacceptable. This, So look at the order. It says Brikama Health Center unaccounted revenue collections in millions. Brikama Subtest are the same. Kauru, Janjambure, So I believe FPAC. Let's work on a resolution. These people need to face the IGP immediately. They have to. Because if not, we will just be laying this report. At the end of the day, it will not even help. And, Honorable Speaker, the other one also is about the IFMIS. This is very clear. If a system doesn't even have no steering committee minutes, so it means they don't even sit. How do you implement the system? This is no wonder why we are having failures in the IFMIS project. And again, also, change of management. Said there is no change management system in place during the period under review. And if you look at the other end, it says here, no service level agreement for internet and generator what? Services. And if you go around, you realize that a lot of those unwarranted issues are happening. UPS is a problem. How do you think that system could work and be able to generate what is expected? So people initiate system, but the systems must follow the process and procedures. If not, it's a problem. And now you look at the recommendation of FI. It says the Accountant General ensures that clear terms and measurable guidelines are identified and agreed with the service provider. So it means you go into an SLA without even service provider. It's sad. And you call them, you look at it, they are all experts in their areas. You go into SLA without even giving the service provider any issue that you have to do. So you think we are, as a country, on this? So they will just be, brainwashing, and they do whatever they like. So it's also, if you look at the recommendation also, it said the Accountant General should ensure that 2 giant UPS synchronize to avoid any delay in power transmission and manual switching over to be automatic. If miss project, manual. So the Accountant General will even go and tell you that this is what you need to do. And when you said you have a system in place, you had went through and do all your proper feasibility analysis. After all, you're just faking. So it's only the auditor that will tell you that it's not correct, is this, is X, Y, Z. This is what they are waiting for. So that the auditor will tell them, do this, don't do this, do X, Y, Z. And again, there's no timeline specified. It's vague. So I tasked the FPAC committee to work on a timeline. When? And the other one also, the committee further recommend that the Accountant General provide FPAC with updates and synchronization of the UPS. Yes, it's good, but when are they going to do the update to FPAC? Some of these, if you leave it, they just be continue and they'll believe it's normal. So I think for this, work on the update, and when do they do all those options to put you in the right decision? Honorable Speaker, to end my discussion on this, I think most of the cases also, you realize that the procurement authorities are also being flagged in certain areas in which I heard saying that we don't need to blame Office of the President. Others who said the area council. It's not about blaming game here. It's about the truth and the hierarchy. I, the father, if I do the abnormal things, what do you expect the sons and daughters will do? There must be samples that are set. And in terms of section 74 of the Constitution, it's very clear. The responsibility of cabinet and ministers, Honorable Speaker, it says, the Vice President and the ministers shall be collectively responsible to the National Assembly for any advice given to the President in cabinet. And the Vice President and each minister shall be accountable to the President. This is very clear. Ministers, Vice, accountable to the President. And the National Assembly for administration of the department and other business of government committed to his or her change. So here we have this. I have jury witness. You see this list of witnesses that are here, and some of them are all, conflicted in issues. So let's work in a resolution. We have to act. This 6 legislative. If arresting start tomorrow, arresting from where? From current to coin, arresting starts. They will know that we are not here.
Honorable member, can you read that again? You stopped short of reading the whole thing and it's confusing.
Yes, I said section 74.
Can you read all again?
It's a responsibility of cabinet and ministers. The Vice President and ministers shall be collectively responsible to the National Assembly for any advice given to the President in cabinet. And the Vice President and each minister shall be accountable to the President and the National Assembly for the administration of departments and other business of government committed to his or her charge. So in so doing, we all know it's hierarchy. If the President takes his bulldozer and start, we should also be able to take our bulldozer and start. Collectively, if these two bulldozers ally together now, any hanky-panky within that particular would now be called off. And we'll have a smooth move of a country. So if not, we will just be dilating here. Even we act, the President doesn't, or if the President act, the National Assembly can also charge and bring those people to book. It still be a problem. So I believe it's high time for us to talk, as Honorable Oluyundum constituent has said here. It's not about party line. It's about that country that we are all in. And as what Honorable Swaibu also said, I think I will also recommend that FPAC would work on the whole sum. How much? In totality. The destruction, the monies that are taken over, pocketed, and now been floating enjoyed. How much? We all know the sum. And key areas of those affections. Then from there, we will be able to at least work on a resolution and say, okay, from this, we need to pin a timeline. And also, arresting should not be left behind. We should start. When we pass a resolution, tomorrow they start the arrest, I think everybody will be very careful. But they're just taking off the system that the President wasn't even arrested, neither whatever. So if agencies are just being used, you carry and go. Sometimes you hear people, ordinarily, voices outside that if you are not rich in this government, we do hear. If you are not rich in this government, you will not be rich. This is one of the biggest jokes that we are facing as a country. So I mean, you are just taken for granted and say that you can do whatever you like. Nobody will, will be liable of. So I believe so. Let's act there. For me, I am very different. All of us out. You hear a lot of people, anti-corruption bill. We have this affection. We cannot even solve this. Let's pass the anti-corruption bill and we see. The same problem. Let's not joke here. The same problem. Acts are available. Constitution is there. We cannot even implement, neither even act. We are bringing another issues again in our head. When we cannot even solidify it and make sure this is protected. So I believe so. May Allah help us and save this country from the smugglers of our finances. We have to make prayers for them there. They are taking a lot of our finances. Millions embezzling with their own affairs. Just newly in a position, you are there. So sometimes I may even think that maybe I'm in a foreign country, where, the biggest people who will be advocating love for the country, love for the president, they are the biggest thieves that are destroying our nation. But we need to fill the pitholes. The pitholes that we have now, rat holes, we need to fill them. If we fill, we will see a proper trajectory move of this country. On that note, I will end here. And I now task myself and FPAC and all members that let's come with a final resolution. Before we leave today, arresting must start this night. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, More names are coming, and we still have about 14 to go so far again. And therefore, honorable members must avoid repetition. And if members listen to you, when you talk and get ready, you will sit down to listen to others also. We will be observing. Honorable member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, with the way the country is moving, to be honest and with due respect, I believe it is very far from development. But notwithstanding, as Parliament, I believe it is important for us to understand that we are the apex authority, given the mandate by the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia to perform oversight function to all government institutions, including the Office of the President. Meaning, this is exactly what the FPAC committee have manifested. And in that regards, I will want to seize this opportunity to commend the chairperson of the committee with his entire team and all the relevant stakeholders that took part as far as this important and comprehensive report is concerned. Honorable Speaker, as far as my deliberation proper is concerned, I will just center it into two thematic areas as far as this report is concerned. One have to do with the broad conclusion of the FPAC. And with your permission, Honorable Speaker, I will just refer the House to page 90 of 97, letter C, that says none of the area council have a proper financial reporting framework. There is an urgent need for a national reporting framework for all public institutions. To me, this should be in the headlines for today's news and tomorrow morning. Because the local councils are the direct representation of the people, me, you, and everybody here. So if there is no proper financial reporting framework, then where are we? That is why I started by saying, the way I see the country is moving, to be honest, we are very far from development. Honorable Speaker, going further, you will come to realize also letter D that talks about the poor reporting format of the area council is what prevents them from making adequate disclosures. It's the same thing like letter C. If you don't have a proper financial report framework and other means of reporting, how can you better put things in place or in order? This is a call for concern, and I believe as a National Assembly member representing the people of Banjul North and by extension the Gambia should be the concern of the Gambian people. Honorable Speaker, letter E talks about the area councils have previously not been submitting their financial statements to the Select Committee on Regional Government of the Parliament. This is also indeed a concern. Why are they not doing this? And what is the Select Committee on Regional Government of the Parliament doing about this? Honorable Speaker, letter H talks about the committee is currently working with the Accountant General Department and the National Audit Office on the National Assembly resolution of September 2022, which is already 1 year now, and to ensure the recoveries are made on the unretired Empress, which I believe a resolution was passed here, and I was expecting a report during the first ordinary session of this year, or even the second ordinary session of this year, but to no avail. I believe the FPAC committee needs to work on this as far as this this particular issue is concerned, because we cannot wait anymore for the retirement of the Empress, which is indeed very important. It's not a matter of bringing it forward for the 4th ordinary session. No, we have a lot to do during the 4th ordinary session this year. So I believe this issue should be taken seriously, and we work on it as soon as possible. It's already 1 year, and there should be no excuse. Like the saying goes, success can only happen when our dreams are bigger than our excuses. And that is the reality. We are not here to joke. And we are not even jokers, because we don't even look like one. So I believe as the solution house, it's important to do the right thing. Honorable Speaker, after saying that, I will go to the broad recommendation of the FPAC. And I will start by the number 2, which talks about MDAs that have not prepared and submitted their financial statements up to 2020 will have only their budget allocations for salaries and utilities considered. As Parliament, let us not change our mind when it comes to this recommendation. It's very important, and it's high time we start setting examples. For salaries and utilities, yes, we can go ahead and approve, but for other things, we keep it and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. They are paid to do the work. And looking at this recommendation is a clear manifestation of intellectual dishonesty, which is very sad as a nation. Our intellectuals are not supporting the system, and which is unacceptable. So in that regards, like I said, as Parliament, we must stand on this and make sure that this recommendation is adhered to. Honorable Speaker, number 4 of the broad recommendations of the FPAC talks about the GPPAs to submit their annual work plan to the National Assembly latest by the 31st of January each year. This is also indeed a very strong recommendation and also very important. And we must stick to it and make sure that these are dreams that we change to realities, because that is the moment that we are as Gambians. It's high time for us to change dreams to realities. It's no more like coming to the Parliament and start talking about issues that have been reoccurring all the time. Whatever we talk about here should be solved. Period. Whatever we talk about here, as far as it is brought to the attention of the Parliament, should be solved once and for all, and should not be brought back to Parliament. For us to be re-emphasizing, trying to come out with solutions. How many solutions did we come out with since we were elected as members? But notwithstanding, up to date, things are still coming up. They still keep on reoccurring, which is unacceptable. Honorable Speaker, going further, number 12 of the recommendations by the FPAC, that is going forward, the vote controllers of all the MDAs must be present to respond to queries when the audited accounts of government are being disclosed or discussed rather. This is indeed very important. When directors are called to come and attend or answer to the Parliament, it is high time for them to try by all means to attend themselves or bring people that can make decisions on behalf of the institutions. But not people that will come to us and tell us that I am not to decide, but I will go back to my senior. We will not accept that from nobody. I mean from no one. As far as you are sent to the Parliament to answer to queries, you must come and answer and also make decisions. Because we don't expect an institution to send a gate man to come and respond to decisions that should be made by the director. That is unacceptable. So this is something that all institutions should take note of and make sure that they must come themselves as directors, as head of institutions, to answer to queries, because they are given the responsibility. They have been mandated, given the powers to run the various institutions. So why are they running away from such situations? They should not. For me, if I was one of them, I'll be so glad to go or to attend to any meeting that is called by the parliament to come and answer to queries, understanding that I know what I'm doing. Honorable Speaker, other points will follow like number 13 and 14, but I will just go to number 15 of the recommendation that talks about the Select Committee on Regional Government, Ombudsman, and IEC should ensure that the Local Government Act 2002 and the Finance and Audit Manual 2004 are reviewed. To me, this is a matter of urgency. I don't know whether the relevant authorities are here, particularly when it comes to the Ministry of Local Government and Lands and the various area councils. This is urgent. A review should take place because we have seen so many things that are happening and which are unacceptable. Like I said, the local councils are the direct representatives of the people. So meaning they are as important as the central government if we really want to move this country forward. So this matter of review of the Local Government Act and the Finance and Audit Manual 2004 is very urgent. Honorable Speaker, number 22 talks about the National Audit Office must take the lead in presenting their annual activity reports, audited financial statements to the FPAC on time. The committee further recommends that the accounts of 2020 to 2022 must be submitted by December 2023. Like I said before, the issue of the area councils not having proper financial report framework should be on the headlines. This also should be on the headlines. To be honest, people need to know, because as National Audit Office, you must set the sample, no matter what. You must set the samples so that each and every institution will follow up. I can remember there was a time when I had this advice from one elderly from my community who once told me, look, if you go in for anything, let's say you want something from someone, if you want to be respected, try by all means to have something in you. So that when you go to that individual, you will tell him or her, I want to do this, but this is what I have. I need your support. And that is how you lead by example. And I think as a nation, we must be innovative enough now to see how best we can put things in place. Because these laws are governing all these things. And what we're doing here is all about making sure that the law is adhered to. So I will want to take the opportunity to advise and also to recommend to the National Audit Office to adhere to the advice or to the recommendation that the FPAC have given, because this is very important. If they want other institutions to respect them and to see them as authorities that are doing things that will move this country forward, like the saying goes, charity begins at home, it's high time for them to respect themselves and do the needful and on time for that matter. And this should be something that the FPAC committee should be very strict on. I don't know for other institutions, but for National Audit Office, the FPAC committee should be very strict as far as this decision is concerned towards them. Honorable Speaker, I don't think I would do justice by concluding without sharing with my honorable members this important message, and also by extension, the public. There is a saying that from the city of I don't care will always lead you to the town of had I known. And had I known is the mother of too late. So please, as honorable members, as a nation, let us not fall a victim because I believe Gambia must move, Gambia must develop. In that regards, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Banjul North. I now invite the Honorable Member for Serekunda West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I must say the report before us really has flagged a lot of financial indiscipline. And as a result, we are facing a governance crisis. The report has indicated that a lot of managers and directors that are responsible, ministries, and even the office of the president, have really failed because they have failed to meet certain things. Mr. Honorable Speaker, you see, nobody is made a president for nothing. Here we will all look on to the president as the leader of this country. If he does not act, we will share it. Because he has a huge responsibility. And we cannot talk about the current presidency without making reference to the previous president. Several speakers have said, you can hate President Jammeh for some human rights violations, but when it comes to governance, he will not wait for any advice. He will act. The mere outcome of our discussions here is enough instruction for the president to act. He needs not wait for anybody. Honorable Speaker, I would want to applaud the committee's recommendation, number 8. With your permission, if I can read. It said the government of the Gambia should work on a long-term plan to create a new office complex for all ministries and their satellite institutions. End of quote. Honorable Speaker, this government has spent $773.5 million on rent for the past 3 years, from 2020 to 2022, on rent. Out of that, 184.5 million was spent on offices within the country, and 589.1 million was spent on outside offices, giving a total of 773.5 million on rent. So if government heed to this advice, it will help, because this figure will increase as we move on. If we work towards building complexes now, which is a long-term solution, it will yield dividend in the future. But if we fail to, if we come here next 3 years, government would have spent billions on rent. So I think this is a very good recommendation that I would urge government to look at. Honorable Speaker, we have seen unprecedented pay vouchers. If you go to page 13 of the report and look at B, C, and D, you will discover that there has been some unprecedented vouchers. Now, if you make payments and you don't present your vouchers, then that means that payment is lost, because there is nothing to verify that you have paid X or Y. So where has the money gone to? Honorable Speaker, still on the same page, if you look at recommendation D on the 1.6 million, you discover that that amount also is a huge amount. And it seems the money
is nowhere to be found. And the recommendation given by the committee is 72 hours. I don't know when this recommendation was given to the state ministries. Maybe no, that's the recommendations from your report, I mean, 72 hours. So I don't know when, because we are talking about reports of 2020 something to 2019 reports. So it might have been a long time ago. So I want the chairperson of the FPAC to throw more light on that issue of 75 hours given to 72 hours given to the particular sector responsible of this 1.6 million that is really not clear where the money goes to. And Honorable Speaker, you go to tourism, you look at the committee's key findings, which includes a difference of 7.8 million between amounts received and amounts distributed. So these are clear evidence that there is a lot of rampant corruption within the system. And like the previous speakers, somebody must be responsible. Somebody must be responsible. If we fail to hold anybody responsible, then the President of the Republic must be held responsible, because he's the chief. We like it or not, he is the President today, so he must be held responsible. Honorable Speaker, on the non-registered suppliers on page 7 of the report, I am of the belief that we should not push the sanctions to future. No, the sanctions should be immediate. Like a lot of people said, or we attach timelines to it. But just to push it on features when we know that something had happened that is not correct is really very disappointing. Honorable Speaker, the missing of the receipt books after the sale of government assets is also another concern. Because if you're going to find the receipts, you are not most likely to find the money. So if this is the order of the day in the Gambia today, then it is sad that really we have a governance crisis because we are mad with rampant corruption and somebody must hold the bull by the horn. If we don't do that, then really we are not doing justice to this country. I would not want to talk of the timber process, because somebody has spoken about that. And also, I wouldn't want to go to page 41, paragraph A. Somebody also have spoken about that. That is the monies paid to Senegal. So, Honorable Speaker, what I will conclude to say would be that the funds that are mismanaged, if we really want to do justice, we must be firm, and our resolutions should contain words like those funds must be refunded to the state because it belongs to the state. And also, the long overdue unretired impress. Some few years ago when we came here, it was an amount of $31 million that were impress given to Gambians, and they pocketed it and never retired impress. Now, as we speak, as at the end of April of this year, the amount is over $20 million. So it is a joke. Over 7-8 years now, we cannot recover these funds, and some of them are holding over $1 million in their pockets. Honorable Speaker, I promise you, by the close of this session during the adjournment, I will come out with a list of every member that is holding this impress and the amount. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Serekunda West. Honorable members, missing receipt books is one of the worst ways of embezzlement. One receipt book missing, one receipt book with 50 sheets. Each sheet can collect $1 billion. Honorable member for Fonyi Bintang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I sincerely want to thank the FPAC committee for the job well done. I am truly happy. And I also want to thank the Speaker and the guidelines the Speaker have been giving us since in the morning, that we can come up with something. And the member for councillor also states something very important, that we should start arresting the people. They should be arrested. It is time for a nation to be built, and the hope of the nation lies in our hands. We can do something about it. But then, what the head of institutions are saying, the perception that they have, what is in their heart is that the National Assembly is just filled up with mere talks, and nothing will come out of it. Who is here? In the morning, here was full to capacity. And they have left the National Assembly here. Forget about these people. Nothing will come out of it. Now the ball is in our court. Will we let it go for free? Will we rescue the Gambians? Will we wipe the tears of the innocent Gambian people? Or we will continue to allow them to continue to corrupt the system and go for free? And everybody seated here, you'll be accountable for whatever you let go. I want everybody to note that with seriousness and with commitment. Even if you are related to any individual, any head of institution, if he mismanage the public fund, he must be accounted for it, without compromise, without begging for relationship. Most of the time, I wonder, the idea of democracy, does it mean that you can go with public fund for free and nothing comes out of it? When then and only then the West will hail you as a democratic government. This is actually what we are seeing. Look at this government, what is happening here. All the institutions, almost 99% of the institutions are found wanting. They are not showing commitment. If you mismanage the public fund, what is that telling us? You are telling us that we will drain this country and continue to drain it. The hope of the nation lies in the National Assembly. Whether the people know it or not, whether they have faith in us or not, the fate of the nation lies in our hands. We have the powers vested in us, and the ball is now in our court. From now on, the FPAC committee, let them adjust with the recommendation, and let us come up with resolutions and whatsoever to hold them to account and start arresting them immediately. And some of them should be sent home until when they are able to pay the money that is required. In fact, if you are able to pay the money, still the honest aspect of yours have already evaporated. You are no longer honest to hold public office. Competency for any public office requires on your honesty, your sincerity, your passion, your patriotism towards the nation that you have. The ministers have not shown any sign of respect to the parliament. Head of institutions have not shown any sign of respect to the parliament, according to what we have seen. To move further, with the Gambia trying to satisfy Senegal in terms of timber deals and paying Senegal some amount of money, it is interesting that France will loot Senegal and Senegal will loot Gambia. What will be left of us? Nothing. Nothing will be left of us as a nation. It is time for us as a nation to wake up from constant slumber and stand to defend what we own. No, don't worry about who is the head of state or whatsoever. That you are supporting the head of state, you allow him to loot your resources. That is a serious shame on every patriotic citizen. This is why we should defend what we own, and we should not allow any foreign country to come and loot the resources of this country. The ministries, government institution on rent. I am still going with the FPAC report. The government own, I can say the government own all the land in the country. And the government could not build institutions but continue to rent. You continue to rent, but you cannot build institutions. In the process of that renting institutions, you continue to involve into corruption. The individual brother whom you are renting from, you will be gaining benefit from that guy, and then the trend continue. Every now and then, we are budgeting on renting department. The Ministry of Higher Education is still on rent. When will that stop? Ministry of Interior on rent. National Human Rights Commission on rent. When will that stop as a nation? We expect individual or private owners to be renting, but not government to be renting departments in this 21st century. So it is time for action to be taken. And we should come up with immediate action. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Fonyi Bintang. I now invite the Honorable Member for Busumbala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I thank honorable colleagues here present, our support staff, and few institutional heads and agencies that are present here. Honorable Speaker, we are looking at a report which can be called as the development budgets of this country. Why did I say so? It's because the report presented to us captured a lot of malpractices, malpractices of government funds that can be used to develop our country in various aspects. I will start with the importance of an institution that is taxed with the constitutional provision to do auditing. That is the Audit Office. If you, Honorable Speaker, if you look at Section 160, Section 160 of the Constitution, Section 160 of the Constitution, B, which says, the Auditor General shall satisfy himself or herself that monies charged on the consolidated fund or other public fund appropriated by an act of the National Assembly and expended has been applied for the purpose for which it was so charged or appropriated for. And that is the expenditure should conform to the authority that governs it. Looking at this provision of the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, it is telling us the Audit Office exercise and recommendations are not just mere opinion. They have the constitutional base. Honorable Speaker, all these funds are appropriated and given to various institutions for a particular and specific purpose. Honorable Speaker, the report have features that funds that are allocated for specific and particular purpose were not being used in that respect. That is evidence and features featured in the FPAC report. Let's see, for instance, Honorable Speaker, the COVID-19 fund. page 9. The COVID-19 fund. Honorable Speaker, food items were given to the general public just to alleviate that suffering that the pandemic has exposed us to. But having gone through that report, you will see to read that there are certain villages that were targeted to be beneficiaries of these food items, and it has not been distributed to them. But, Honorable Speaker, the report also reveals that there are bags of rice and sugars that were left over in the governor's places and also at some other places where these items were kept. And some of these food items were spoiled, whilst Gambians, our brothers and sisters, the poor farmers, who cannot even afford a bag of rice or any other provisions, go to sleep hungry. Honorable Speaker, there are issues raised in this report. Like, if you permit me to read, the Regional Disaster Coordinator of ESCOS reported that the stock balance of 389 bags of sugar was kept in the NDMA store. Out of these, 363 have been claimed to be collected by the Executive Director of MDMA, leaving the balance of 66 bags that were distributed to the flood victim. Honorable Speaker, at first place, if the need assessment was done professionally and correctly, there should be no leftover of these food items during the COVID period. But as we know, during the COVID period, even the need assessment is based on political line. A classical example will be in Yarambamba itself, where the president heals, and where I resident. There are households who are extremely poor in Yarambamba, and they do not benefit from these food distributions. And they are Gambians. Honorable Speaker, there are a lot of irregularities that the reports have shown. Honorable Speaker, the same page 10, late distribution of food items. There were excessive delay in the distribution of food items in RRR, West Coast, and some of the food items got damaged while in storage. 28 bags of 50 kilogram rice and 1 bag of 50 kilogram sugar for LRR and West Coast. 541 bags of 50 kilogram rice, 65 bags of 50 kilogram rice were all confiscated by the Food Safety and Quality Control Authority because they were not fit for human consumption. This certificate of confiscation was not provided to the auditors for review. How can you believe in that statement? Food items you claim were not fit for human consumption. As a result, the agency responsible for that confiscated that item from you without giving you a receipt. My friend, this COVID fund states that we are very serious about it. We have seen their president acted stiffly to make sure that those who embezzle these COVID funds during that critical period face the consequences. We all hear the president of Malawi. All those who involved in destroying people's life and livelihood government cannot appropriate funds for a specific purpose, more especially at that critical period, and people just go and enrich themselves with those funds. Are we not Gambians? It's our brothers and sisters who suffered most during this critical period. We should have that human face to make sure that this is a period when the needy stay at home without going for their normal exercise at the market to find fish money. This is the period when even the office workers struggle to put food on the table. More so the downtrodden ones who are not engaged in anything. So these things are stories that are incapable to be believed in. So we definitely need the FPAC and the National Assembly to come up with a strong recommendation to make sure that those who are found wanting to face the full force of the law. Also, on the same page, page 11, there should be standard guideline for the transportation and distribution of food items. The committee further recommend that, that's the recommendation, the committee further recommend that the executive director of the NDMA must account for all the remaining stock balance within 10 days. Are we, the FPAC is telling us that there are still remaining items in stock. I can't just believe that. This was 2019 to us, now we are in 2023. Meaning, the funds have been disposed for a specific purpose, and that purpose has been elapsed now. Why should we have those things in store? I think I need a further clarification from FPAC whether still there are some food items that are in store. I will also move to the distribution of medical items. Honorable Speaker, the report have also shown us that unprecedented payment vouchers in respect of payment of 1,650,000 for allowances to frontliners workers were missing. Neither the Accountant General nor the agencies could provide this documentation, despite several demands by the auditors. Honorable Speaker, I think if you look at section 160 sub 5 of the Constitution, the auditors also have the power. If there is discrepancies in reconciling some of these things, just report the matter to the Inspector General of Police. They should act. These are fraud. It's very disheartening that during this critical period, people risk their life to be frontliners for us, you and me, who are sitting home, all to be, all of a sudden, their money that they should benefit for their labor, we are not realized. That is a joke. I think all those who are seriously involved in this embezzlement of public fund, COVID-19 funds should face the full force of the law. I go to the recommendation of the FPAC, where they said, all payments should be supported with a payment voucher, and this should be retained for the audit purpose. Payment should not be processed without such a trial being in place. The missing payment vouchers receipt of the payment of 1,650,000 must be produced within 72 hours, failing which the vote controller should reimburse. What should reimburse? They should be arrested, honestly. Reimburse what? Since 2019, 2020, 2020, now we are in 2023. The money that you cannot reimburse 2019, 2020, 2021. Now that, how can you reimburse that? Please, they are just, it is fraudulent, and the law has a cost to take its place. That is for the COVID issue. Honorable Speaker, we move to the Gambia Minister of Tourism and Culture. Honorable Speaker, let's see the unbudgeted payment. Total payment of 1,840,000 was made to various associations in the tourism industry and some individuals that were not included in the budget. The difference between cash withdrawal and total payment, there was a difference of 520 between amount received to support individuals in the informal sector and actual amount disbursed to beneficiaries by the auditors, and no explanation was provided to account for the difference. Like the Minister of Tourism also did some terrible things during this COVID period. They have lay people who are, they have lay people to sit down, not to come to work, who are genuinely employed by that institution. And they were not paying some of them. The report is here with the National Assembly. But they can go and pay some of individuals whose names were not captured in the list. So this is a joke. And the ministry also received an amount of 100 million. But out of this 100 million, we have seen 800, out of this 100 million, not everything was given for what it was intended, but a leftover of 7 million was not been given out as it has been appropriated. So these are some of the things that are not, within the limits of the law, and definitely they should face the law for doing contrary to the provision of the audit provision in the Constitution. Having said that, there are so many irregularities in this report, but all boil down to the same thing, that is mismanagement of public funds. When it comes to contract-related issues, you will certainly, it has been certainly featured in this report that the Office of the President also engaged in awarding contracts that are not even tendered, but this single sourcing is not bad, it's within the laws. But then, why is it that always this government single source to only one enterprise, that's gay enterprise? Because I can see the renovation of the president's office, single source to him, to that enterprise. And also, the BANJUL project is also single source to him. So we need explanation, please, FPAC. what peculiar interests did the government have to be single sourcing only to one enterprise?
Just to make records straight, not Banjul project. I think it's a particular state house of 70 million.